Blade adjustments. Blade adjustments, we're just going to go through now and talk about all the steps to doing your blade adjustments. But before you start playing with any of your adjustments, the first thing you need to eliminate is the fact that it may be the saw blade that's giving you problems rather than the blade adjustments. In most cases, it's people that are playing with adjustments when all they should be doing is sharpening or changing their saw blade. So first things you should do is one, sharpen your saw blade. Two, if your saw blade's still performing poorly, put another blade on that you know is a good blade and test that first. Adjustments do not fall out of adjustment just like that. Normally it's over a period of time, and it would be because things are starting to wear, like if these wear pads were, or the roller was starting to wear, that may alter your adjustments a little. Or if you're pushing it through the bush somewhere and you smash it up against a stump or a log or a tree or something, you might knock the whole thing out of square, which is going to require some fairly major work to get it back to square again and do your alignments. In a lot of cases, people buy these machines second hand and other people have played with them, so you may find you need to do the adjustments then. But if you've just brought a new machine and it's only done a couple of 100 hours, I would not expect to have to do the adjustments. I would say it's a saw blade problem that you're going to deal with. We start with adjustment number one, which is your horizontal position. These two, the roller and the wear pad here, are set right. The roller should be carrying 70% of the weight. The wear pad should only be carrying about 30%. It still has to carry weight, but about 30% of the weight. So to check that, just simply grab the engine frame with your hand, put your thumb on the aluminium carriage frame, and then just lift. And it should be lighter than this end. And if it's not, then undo this nut, the lock nut here, and just simply wind the whole thing up or down. If it's too loose, it could be that that's way too loose. And if that's the case, you're going to wind the wear pad down. If it's too heavy, wind the wear pad up. It's only the 10 and the 8-inch machine that have a wear pad and a roller. The 7, the 6 and the 4 all just simply in the middle here have one wear pad. So that 70-30 mix is irrelevant for the 7, the 6 and the 4-inch machine. It's only relevant to the 8 and the 10. Once you've established that this is all okay, then the first thing you're going to do is your horizontal alignment. To do your horizontal alignment, you need to place a straight edge across the saw blade. You can position it top or bottom. Just make sure that the straight edge is touching the saw at the two ends, not touching the riving knife, not touching blade bolts, and not touching teeth. Then you just simply measure up. So we have a millimetre difference. What we're looking for here is to have that saw blade flat. So we come back up to the top here now. We had a 1 millimetre difference, so we want to bring the saw blade up at this end. So we undo that, and by winding this down, you're going to push up. So we just simply give that one turn, which is an actual half a turn. Come over to this side, undo the locking nut on this one, and wind that up half a turn. It's a good practice when you playing with any of the alignments is to make note of what you've done. So if you need to, you can go back to it. You should also do your alignments in half-turn increments. Once you've set this so that you've got the right weight distribution, you should always turn these as a unit. So half a turn on this one, half a turn on the wear pad. If you've made note of what you've actually done, you know, just make a little mark, one down or one up, or half a turn up, half a turn down. If you can, that way you can always go back to what you started with if you need to. But alignments are not rocket science. They are easy to do. You just got to make a few little measurements. All you need to do now is just double check that by putting the ruler back on there and giving it another quick measurement. We've now done the alignment so that the saw blade across from front to back is now flat. But the saw in the horizontal position, we have to also do the alignments left to right. And we actually need to have the saw blade so that the nose of the saw out here on the right hand side is lower than the tip of the saw out on the left hand side. So we have to, what that effectively does is put a step in the log as we're cutting. The reason for that is one, and probably the most important reason, is sawdust clearance. If you haven't got the step in the slight angle in the log creating a step, then the sawdust hasn't got enough room to clear underneath. So it creates friction and then the saw blade heats up. So step's important for that reason. Step's also there to allow a little bit of clearance for the nuts or the bolts. And step's also there so that if you've got a log that's got a bit of movement in it, if there's a lot of growth stresses in it, if you haven't got any angle put into it this way, the far side of the saw blade, as the log climbs up, will be dragging across the surface of the log, creating friction and extra load and all that sort of stuff. So you do need to have some step. To do that, all you do is place the straight edge across here, being careful not to, again, hit the nuts, come in contact with a tooth or anything like that. We'll put it across the bottom again. Remembering the figure that we had before was 280. We now measure up from the underneath of the carriage again down to the straight edge. And we're looking for 282. It should be lower by 2 millimetres. Well, we've got 281.5. So if we want to 281.5, I reckon it's probably close enough. But to get 282, all you need to do is come around to blade adjustment number 2, undo the lock nut, and just simply wind this out half a turn. So 1, 2, 3 sides, that's half a turn, lock him up again. And that'll lower the tip of the saw down so that we've got a 2 mil clearance. After you've done the horizontal adjustments, the next one that you need to do is the intersect. And to set your intersect up, all you need to do is just simply position the saw over the last cut that you've just made. Bring it around so that the tip of the saw is at its lowest point in relationship to the top of the last cut you've just made. And you're looking for about 1.5 millimetres to 2 millimetres, a matchstick. The thickness of a matchstick is ideal in between the surface on the log and the very furthest point of the tip. That one there, she's a little bit high, so what we need to do with that is just come back up to a blade adjustment number 3, undo the lock nut, and just simply wind that down a little. So we just wind it down half a turn or something, come back around and have a look at what we've done now. Give that a little more. About 1.5 to 2 millimetres. On the 10-inch machine, you could perhaps go to as far as 3 mil. Then you come back down here and have a look again, and that's pretty good there now. So that's blade adjustment number 3 done. The next step we have now is the vertical blade alignment. And the vertical blade alignment, to achieve that, just simply bring your power head all the way over to the right hand side as far as you can, like that. Put a straight edge along the side of the carriage, and we're looking at about 133 there. Go up to the other end, measure this one as well, and at this end we're looking at 134. So, which means what we need to do here is take the 33 that way. We need to move it away from the carriage so that that's the same distance at both ends. To achieve this, I simply need to wind this out. Check that. Alright, that'll be pretty good. That's good there like that. So then you just lock the lock nut up again. That's going to be pretty good now, and you should be able to cut with that. You may find later on that you've got to do a little bit of fine tuning. When you have a look at the manual will tell you that you cross hatch, and I'll show you the cross hatch down here on the surface on the log. What we're looking at when we talk about the cross hatch is the marks left by the saw. You can see here, if the saw is set right, over the bearers only is the only place you really look, you should have even marking. Now I like to see even or maybe a little more with the lead rather than the tail, but if you've got it to the point where you can see equal amounts of markings, then that's good. If it's not, you might find that you just got to tweak it up or down a little to improve that.